So welcome back to Max Programming, and today in this video we are going to see the selectors in CSS. So we are going to take a look at the popular selectors in CSS. So let's get started. So actually the majorly used types of selectors in CSS are the tag name selector that we have seen before, the class selector that we are going to see, and these three we are going to see in this video. Then we have the ID selector, and then lastly we have the attribute selector, which is not that used but it's used a lot. So these are the selected types that we are going to see in this video. So let's jump right into the code and let's see how they look like and how they feel. So let me just get this right here and this right here. Okay, so it's smaller. So we created this button in the previous video. Now we are going to use those types of selectors. So let me just remove this button, and we are going to create an h1 called the tag selector. Okay, save that, and this is how it's going to look like. Okay, let's go to styles.css and let's remove all of these styles. So if you want to use a tag selector, what you have to do is just enter the tag name. So this is the name of the tag, so h1, so you have to enter h1. So if I just do like curly braces, and then if I say let's see, font hyphen family is equal to, let's set it to cursive, save that. And okay, we don't have cursive font right now, any cursive font, so it's not going to apply. Let's say to sans serif, save this, and this is how it's going to look like, sans serif. Okay, so this is how the tag selector works. So let's control C and control V 3 more times, and I think we also have an image. We don't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is quickly I'm just going to put an image into our web folder. So I'm just going to fast forward that. Okay, so now I've put that image inside of this images folder. Now instead of this last h1, I'm going to say img, and we have the src, so I'm going to say dot slash images logo dot png. Is it png? Let me quickly see. Okay, it's not png, so there's something wrong. So it's just logo, I think. Let's save this and let's see, do we have the logo? Okay, so that's the file that I copied is not a png file. Actually it's just without any extension image, so it's actually a system image. Okay, so we have the logo, we have these three tag selectors. Now what happened is, when we used h1, it styled all of our h1 tags. So this is called a tag selector, which changes all of our h1s. Now let's add something. In the HTML tutorials we saw the class and the ID, so let's add a class to h1. So I'm going to say class attribute is equal to, let's say, classy heading. Okay, and let's save this file. Let's go to styles.css, and if you want to select a class, okay, then what you have to do is you have to just say dot and then the class name, so classy heading. You can name it anything, and let's change the color of the classy heading to brown, and let's change the font family to monospace. Monospace is also a type that you see. This font is a monospace font. Save that, and this one will be changed. So from this, all of the H1s will get changed, and from this, all of the elements with the classy heading, okay, will change. So if you go back to index.html, and if we create one more H1, so let's copy and paste, or two more, and let's say class selector. Now what I want to do here is I want to change these three tag, tag, and tag to class. Now what I can do here is I can just select this. Great. Now I can say control D two more times, and then it's going to give me this, these three cursors, and now I can change it to class. So this is a shortcut in Visual Studio Code that you can use. So I'm going to say class selector 2, class selector 3, let's add a space here, and if I save this, you're going to see that we have the class selector 1, 2 and 3. They are styled according to this classy heading. So you can use this classy heading class or any kind of class that you styled inside of your styles.css right here. So now we left with this tag selector. This is not tag selector. Let's name it ID selector, and let's go to H1 and let's add an ID to this. Now ID is actually simply an ID, okay? It's an identity about a particular element. So whenever you give any element an ID, remember that that ID will be only, allowed for that element. So it will not be allowed for any other element there. Yeah, it works when you give 2 or 3 IDs, but you have class for that. Why should you give IDs to many of them? So if I just say modern heading and save this, and let's go back. Now we use the dot prefix to find a class, but if you want to select an ID, what you have to do is you have to just say hash and then the ID name. So what was the ID name? It was modern heading. Let's say modern heading and then curly braces. And that's why I like Visual Studio Code. It gives you this different kind of highlighting. Okay, that's why I like the material theme, because it gives you this different kind of highlights for class, for tags, and for IDs. So modern heading, let's set the font family first of all to this one. So what this means is actually these are the browser fonts that are embedded inside of the browser, so you can use them. So what it means is Apple system, okay, it's a font, then you have a comma, and then Blink Mac system font, then you have comma, then you have Cjo UI, then you have comma, Roboto, Oxygen. So what this comma does is that if this font is not available, then it's going to jump onto this font. Normally what we do is, if I just save this, and we don't have this Apple system font inside of our system installed, now how can we use that Apple system font right here? We cannot use Apple system now. So what we do in that case is we just say comma and sans serif and save that. So what sans serif is, it's called a backup font. So if this one is not available, then you have the plan B, sans serif. So let's set it back to where it was, save this, and this is a different font. Now let me use this font instead. I like this one a lot. Save your UI, and let's just copy this. So it will be cut and paste. Okay, great. Save this, and this is the only font that we had installed Okay, so it went comma 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 comma, and then it found this font and it's installed in my system. So this is right here. If you're using Windows, this font will be installed by default. So this is it for the headings. This is it for the tag, class, and ID. Now we want to take a look at the attribute selector. Now first of all, I'm going to say logo inside of the alt. Okay, save this, so there will be nothing. If I hover over it, then I think, okay, it's alternative, so if the image will not be available, for instance, if I select this, so you're gonna get the text of logo. Okay, let's set it back to logo. Now in tag selector, actually you have these square brackets. So whenever you specify a tag selector, you have to specify these square brackets, and in which you can put any of the tag, I'm sorry, the attribute. It's an attribute selector. So just copy this, go back inside of this, paste that. So what this does is, any attribute, any tag with this attribute, it's going to select that. And let's say it will be width of, actually width, we saw width inside of image tag in the HTML tutorials, but we have a width property in CSS which can, change the width of the image. So I can say 500 pixels, save that, and this will be a lot more larger. Okay, so if I just duplicate that or replicate that, okay, so if I say copy paste, save this, then we'll have 1, 2 and 3 images. So they will be styled the same way, because we have this src attribute in 3 of them, so it's same. If I change this attribute to alt is equal to logo, so that's what we have. So we have the alt and its logo. So if I save this, if I save this, then we are going to get the same output. Okay, it's not going to be different. Yeah, so that's it. What else do we need to see? If I just change it to logo 2, logo 3, this one, and logo 2, save this, log02, then also it will be y, the same one. Okay, so this styles.css is not saved. Save that, and you are going to see these two images have different styling. So the default styling, and this one has large styling. So let's quickly see one more property, because we have a lot of time. So if you want to, first of all, let me just take back this width, save that. Now if you want these text and these images to be aligned at the center of the page, what you can do is simply, if you want any styling to be applied on every single element inside of your website, so if you want that particular styling to be applied on this tag selector, this class selector, this ID, even these images, so what you can do in that case is use a universal selector, which is called an asterisk. So this is a universal selector which selects every element on your web page and then applies the styles. So I can say, if I want these to be aligned on the center, I can simply say text hyphen align is colon CENTER. Remember, it's CENTER. American English will be used here, not the United Kingdom English, because this is developed by Americans. Save that, and you will see that every single thing is aligned at the center. Similarly, I can do for right, and it will be for right. And if I just say control space, then you have end, which is, if you just see this, the inline contents are aligned at the end of the line box. Then you have justified content, left, right, start, initial. Okay, start, which is the start. and then unset. Okay, unset means it will be the default one. So we can set it to center again, and this is how it looks like. So let's maximize this, and it looks amazing. So we have three images, and then you have this kind of tag selectors. So I like this kind of user interface. You can also use whatever you want. Okay, so try to use this universal selector if you want to apply styles to all of the elements on your web page at once, so you don't need to go back to every of their rules and then do that. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. Hope you like it, share it with others, and finally, thanks for watching.